Hey guys, welcome back to the Rideshare Hub. It's Isabella, and today I'm going to be sharing 20 tips with you on how you can earn more being a delivery driver. So before we get started, there's this sign up link we have in the description where you can sign up to be a Lyft driver, and you get guaranteed up to $1,000 bonus if you sign up using that link. Also, if you want to help manage your finances, there's an awesome app you can check out called Current. It is a banking app that helps you reach your financial goals and just helps with financial management. So definitely check that out. We have a link to sign up in the description. Anyways, let's get started with these 20 tips to earn more as a food delivery driver. So you want to pick your orders carefully. You want to make sure that it's worth it for you, that it's not like a super cheap order that's less than like $7 or a delivery from like a really bad restaurant. Keep in mind like the orders that you're choosing. Tip number 2 is that short deliveries pay more than long deliveries. If you have a long delivery, by the time you deliver it to the person that ordered, more likely than not their food is not going to be in great condition and they're probably going to complain or just not leave you a very good tip. Also, if you do a bunch of short deliveries, you can do more of those within an hour than you can long deliveries. So it's just more worth it to do that than to take the long ones. Tip number 3 is that more orders is more money. This kind of goes along what I was saying in the last tip, but if you're in a very popular area with a lot of restaurants and you get a lot of short deliveries, then you're staying within that radius of where it's going to be really busy and you'll be able to get more orders, thus making more money. Tip number 4 is to try to avoid delivering to students. You want to kind of stay away from like student housing or campuses because more likely than not, a student probably won't tip you that well. Not because you didn't do a good job, but just because students are usually trying to save money or just don't have the money to spend a little bit extra to tip you because you know that they're already like paying for this extra delivery and like service fee. If you want to get a bigger tip, just avoid delivering to students. Tip number 5 is to sit next to expensive restaurants. Expensive restaurants will have, a higher bill more likely than not. That way you'll get a higher tip because of the percentage. And the way the algorithm works, it'll probably give you an order that's at one of the restaurants that you're nearby. So stay in like a nice area that has a lot of nice restaurants. Tip number 6 is to try to stay on the side that the restaurant is on when you're parking to pick up the food, because sometimes like you can just waste a lot of time trying to cross the street, especially if it's super busy or the traffic light takes a long time and you're not able to cross. So just try to stay on the side that already has the restaurant or the place that you're delivering to. Tip number 7 is to try to get people in apartments to meet you in the lobby. It can waste a lot of time trying to navigate around apartment complexes or apartment buildings because it can be a little bit confusing. You can just shoot them a friendly message asking if they can meet you in the lobby. Hopefully they'll do that. Tip number 8 is to work harder when you're delivering good orders. If you're delivering to a super nice house in a really nice area from a expensive restaurant and the bill is really high, then you want to make sure that you have excellent customer service and you're being as efficient as possible, because that'll make it more worth it for you, and it's more likely that this person has the money to be able to tip more, unlike a student. You want to make sure that those orders are done really well. Tip number 9 is to go home when it's dead. If you get to a point where you're not getting any orders or all the orders you're getting just like aren't very good, you might as well just go home. You don't want to wait and sit around too long for a good order to come up. You can just call it a day at that point rather than just wasting your time. Tip number 10 is to avoid restaurants that have long wait times. If you know your area really well, then you'll know which restaurants tend to take longer than others, or if you've been doing deliveries for a long time, then you'll kind of pick up on that. Some restaurants are just notorious for taking way too long on their orders, and it'll leave the customer dissatisfied for how long it took them to get their food. They're less likely to leave you a nice tip. Tip number 11 is to cancel bad orders. If you accidentally accept an order that's really not worth it for you, don't feel like you have to keep it and like just do it anyways. Try to cancel it right away if you can and move on to the next order. Tip number 12 is to test your market. If you're delivering in a new place or you just moved and you don't know the area that well, or you're just like brand new to delivering, take a day to just do deliveries for like the entire day, because then you can figure out which areas have the most or like best deliveries. You can kind of just like drive around and see, and you can figure out which times are the best times for you to deliver. Tip number 13 is to not hang around chatting with the customer. if you're handing the food to them directly, you don't want to waste time having like a whole conversation with them. Like, yeah, there's a chance they'll tip you more because of that, but like you don't really know if that'll happen. So I don't think like there really isn't a point of like trying to get that tip when you could be spending that time just getting another order. So you can just hand them their food, tell them you hope they enjoy their food, and then carry on to the next order. Tip number 14 is to avoid orders that take you out of the hot zones. If you're getting orders that go from like the city to the suburbs, that just takes you way out of the busy area. It's also a really long distance to be driving, so you might as well just like try to stay within like a good radius of like a really popular area. Tip number 15 is to bring a bag divider. Not only will this help you like separate your orders to make it more organized, but it also stabilizes it so that the food doesn't fall over or like drinks don't spill, because it's really unfortunate when that happens and it just creates a huge delay. So it's always good to have like a bag divider. Tip number 16 is to consider biking or walking. If it's a really short delivery and there's a lot of traffic to the point where it's just faster to bike, you might as well do it. It's great exercise. You also save money on gas. This is especially like if you're working downtown. Downtowns are usually pretty condensed and they're super busy, so you'll get more orders that way. And there's usually a lot of traffic, so biking might be a better option sometimes. Tip number 17 is to always double check the order. You never know if there's an item missing or if you accidentally picked up the wrong order, and you want to make sure that they have all the napkins and utensils that are necessary. Again, it creates a huge delay and creates a lot of problems if you get the wrong order, and they'll probably report you for that, which can eventually lead to your account getting deactivated. If your account does get deactivated, we have a link in the description to this awesome website called the Reactivation Center. Whether you're an Instacart driver, Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats, Doordash, Postmates, like all of these gig apps, you can purchase and request to have your account reactivated. They have this super cool like verified process on reactivating accounts, so be sure to check that out if your account ever does get deactivated. Tip number 18 is to not give the customer an excuse to not tip you. You want to make sure you have excellent customer service. You don't want to be unfriendly or just cause any problems that will leave them to not tip you. So just always try your best. Don't do anything that you wouldn't want a delivery driver person to do with your order. So my 19th tip is that fast food is usually actually really slow. A lot of times McDonald's especially like won't even be starting your order when you arrive. It's better to just go for like legitimate restaurants because they'll already be working on your order before you get there, and a lot of times the customers will rarely tip. Fast food also, it doesn't stay good for that long. It's usually best like right when you get it. So if you're delivering it somewhere, then you know the fries are probably going to be soggy and then the customer might complain. So I would just avoid fast food altogether. And tip number 20 is to always track your expenses. This is important for when you're filing your taxes and doing tax return. There's little things that you can write off as expenses, like a phone mount if you want to mount your phone for like the GPS, or the bag dividers as I was talking about, maybe an insulated bag or a cooler if you wanted to use that to store the food while you're delivering. So be sure to write all of that down, and also write down how much it costs, because it'll make it way easier for when you have to file your taxes. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips were helpful for you, and once again, if you want to sign up to be a Lyft driver, we have a sign up link in the description of this video where you get a bonus of guaranteed up to $1,000. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.